There is.
So that's my recipe for the perfect pancakes, which will change your life. And if you missed it, that's too bad.
You're never going to hear that again. It's done.
No.
Yep.
That's right.
It's just between us. We won't tell. Oh, hello, everybody. Hello.
Hi.
We're back with
Hi.
a coldish.
This is Sarah's first cold open.
It is, yeah.
You were.
Be afraid. Be very afraid. It's how cold is it? It's this cold. It's this cold. Yes,
Dan,
so getting limbered up. Yes,
it's actually cold here.
It's still hot here in Israel, right? We haven't had a winter kick in yet.
I got frostbite last night. It's cold here.
Okay, I beg you, don't tell me anything about Canada. What was it last week, the week before? I wanted to cut my wrist. It was awful. I know it's bad.
Rabbi, I stepped in human poop this week. That was unpleasant.
There you go. Well,
Yeah.
Is that a metaphor for something?
No, I actually
that you live in Canada.
We still have people pooping in the alley behind my house,
Okay.
and it was early in the morning, and I wasn't paying attention, and I stepped in it. That was
That does not sound fun.
It was not. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the poop show.
In the run up to Christmas here, a short run of kind of Christmas themed editions of the show, a final trilogy. And we're going to catch up and exchange pleasantries because we haven't spoken to one another in 2 or 3 weeks. Some of us for a little longer, but to see what we've gleamed to take life forward, I suppose, to another Christmas. I mean, as for your story there, Chris, I mean that sounds awful. Obviously, I hope they relent for a time, at least over Christmas, so you haven't got to have any number twos sort of floating around.
Dan, I cleaned those boots with regular cleaner. I cleaned them with bleach. Then I let the bleach go for a while, and then I cleaned them with vinegar after the bleach had died, so I didn't poison gas myself to death. I eventually I'm getting new boots.
Yeah, I was going to say I wouldn't even bother with that. It's like ask Santa for new boots.
Well, Santa's mad. Look at the mood Santa's in. He's been to Canada. Just look at my avatar. He's not happy.
Well, that's because he stepped on something on your roof too.
I know. Oh, and spoilers. With Frank, we're going to be very, very frustrated with him at the end of the stream. So everybody, stay tuned and find out the latest horrible thing Frank has done.
Just getting started. This is how we catch up here. Yeah, it's obviously, Sarah, what we've been doing on this show is we've been putting the world to rights quite a lot lately, as men tend to do. I think it's a very masculine thing to do. I think women do it too, but in a different kind of more holistic kind of way. We get sort of more belligerent, angry, little swearier. Actually, most women are quite sweary.
Never doesn't happen ever. We're perfectly happy all the time.
Sarah just sends mean tweets.
I'm not even on
From behind a sock puppet account. But we like to bring the balance as well, Sarah, in offering people, if not sort of life lessons, than sort of fabled slices, really, of TV wisdom from all over the world, from different points in history, mainly from Canada, because this is something that Chris has been curating for us over the last year or so. So I thought we'd warm up with this before we get into the main topic of the show. And here we are, look. So we've got, here she is. So this is very much the mascot of this strand. Do you remember her?
Very, very vaguely, yeah. This was a little bit before my time, I've got to be honest. We had our own.
Yeah, I suppose you do. It's probably a cartoon animal. It's like a squirrel with a flat tail. That was another one we used to have. But yeah, this is a long-running strand that we've been doing. And this particular one, I'm not sure if it's very wintry, Chris, because we prepared this 2 or 3 weeks ago, didn't we? But I thought we could sort of get into this and bring Sarah up to speed on very much where the tone of the show has gone in recent months. So do you want to introduce?
Oh, and don't worry, Dan. I'm going to ruin everybody's Christmas in a few weeks. But if you'll remember, when we last spoke, my ads had been very Ontario, Quebec, and Alberta centric, and we have been ignoring the other provincial regions of my country. So last time we shamed Canada's rectum, known as the province of Manitoba. And we also shamed the province of Nova Scotia with the predator. And so now we're going to continue this trend of predators. And this week we're going to the province of British Columbia, also known as Canada's drug den, or at least the province that started the drug den. And you have to be on some kind of drugs to come up with this commercial. But anyway, so without further ado, we are going to learn about predators in the province of British Columbia in the early 1980s.
Whoa!
I'd already be running away from her, to be honest.
Flying kites around electrical equipment is dangerous. You can be badly burned or killed, so be electrically alert. Fly kites only in open areas, away from...
There you go.
Yeah, but weird, creepy pedophiles has clearly taken them to a van to see their puppies. That's all fine. What the hell? Oh my god!
Wriggling
All
around.
I've ever got from these videos are never let your kids go to Canada. Right? What the hell?
First of all, Chris, I think
it's truly terrifying when she comes out.
First of all, Chris, I was expecting Arnold Schwarzenegger. You kept saying Predator, so I was expecting Arnold Schwarzenegger to show up. So that's the first thing. The second is that do you have a lot of unregulated mimes roaming around Canada?
We have a lot of unregulated everything running around in Canada right now. Yeah, well, when your entire country is on drugs, these are the kind of things that happen.
It kind of reminds me of like a Kate Bush video.
Yes, it's horrible in every way.
It's Canada is just one unending horror movie. You see, Starry, the whole thing is basically with these videos. Generally, they're like a vignette from Final Destination. And you never know quite what's going to happen, which is actually going to be the case when I shame the province of Saskatchewan next week, or the nightmare-inducing clip I've got planned for Christmas. But yeah, so this is what we do for fun. I shame my country. So thank you for joining us, everyone.
Well,
you know what would make that.
Side, now I can't stop thinking of the Kate Bush. What was it? Babushka video. Right. That just distracts me.
Yeah, she's doing all of that. Yeah, and she's all gassing.
I don't remember hearing the song that much, but I knew the costume.
Chris, you know what would make that commercial absolutely perfect is after the kids go romping off merrily, the camera pans back down, and then you see the mime getting mugged. That would be the perfect ending for that.
This was British Columbia in the early 1980s. If it were now, yes, they would be mugged and stabbed to death, especially if you're on Hastings Street in the lovely city of Vancouver, which is actually considered the most dangerous street in North America. Another claim to fame for Canada. Yes, so Sarah, I know you want to come back and join this. We've been doing this for a year. Usually there's lots of blood, people getting impaled. We're starting next year with one of my favorites called Your Fingers Are Not Pepperoni. You don't get to find out what that's about until it starts. So,
I want to see more mime videos now.
Oh, dude, I got like tons. My country's a disaster. We could do this for 5 years and I wouldn't run out of material.
Run out of material. As for cleaning up the streets, we can't do that alone. We do have some friends who I think could probably take care of it when we were, just take over really and sort it all out, clean up the jobbies and any mimes that may pop up. I mean, the thing about that mime artist, of course, is in that leotard there, Rabbi, is that there's nowhere really for him to stash his small change that you're not going to be able to see.
You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised. I've seen things that you don't want to know about, right? There are things that happen in the world. Let's just keep it quiet, right? You can stash shit anywhere, right? And you don't want to know about it.
Yeah, I suppose you're right. Yeah,
Hello.
of course we are stashed with great conversation. Maybe as the episode rolls along, we've got people watching on YouTube and Rumble as well, limbering up, I think, for whatever is going to come next. Will there be conflicts? We'll have to wait and see, won't we? As we get deep into it, this is a special edition of the show focused on one particular movie from times past, and we have people in the live chat. Is there any metal in the string? Asks Speedy Rich. I think that's concerning the kite in the PSA.
Well, those kids were idiots because they went off with the clown, so one can only assume so.
Could be right. Yeah, you could be right. We've
I did like it when you saw the kite flying. You know, the kids running gaily. I was like, "Oh, this is awesome! This is the greatest thing ever."
Yeah, you've joined the Saturday night grumpy old men stream, according to Funky.
Oh, does that mean I'm going to be a grumpy old woman? Wow.
You could.
Well, in the next, we've got 2 hours to make that happen. So,
and I have promised, and Dan, I will promise this week. I make this promise right now.
Oh, okay.
I will not go into any long-winded 30-minute rants this week. It's my resolution. I'm going to contain myself. So there.
It was like
don't contain yourself on my account. Great.
We are going back to the past, aren't we? To sort of happy places, past and present, really. So that's the good news. As for the rest of it, well, we're not going to go over too many of the talking points from the recent past, but you know where we feel about all of that. We're actually going to touch base with somewhat of an 80s classic. We're not that kind of 80s classic, sadly. Another kind of 80s classic. But what will we all have to say about it when the conversation kicks off? Hang on in there and find out for yourselves.
I put together some really impressive deals, but this thing you've pulled off, it's amazing. A big and tasty for just $1? How do you do it? What's your secret? You're a man of few words. I like that.
Got a buck? You're in luck, because you can get a delicious beefy big and tasty or a McChicken sandwich for just $1 every day at McDonald's.
Purple. Very, very powerful.
Yes, it's the Spacebook Live. Once again, legendary out there entertainment on YouTube and Rumble for Saturday, the 29th of November, 2025 and beyond. We've a far out panel raring to go into hyperspace, more far out than usual. Even we're joined by starry-eyed girl Sarah Graham. I'm happy to say, good to see you, Sarah. Happy to have you back aboard.
Thank you. I've never seen that advert before in my life.
You'll see things again. What you wish you could unsee tonight.
Sarah, I got to be honest. That is nowhere near the most disturbing thing I've shown.
Yeah.
The laughs will come thick and fast, whether you want them to or not. So you don't really know what you've let yourself in for. Because the last time you were on, I think we were talking about another movie, and things have just sort of taken on somewhat of a life of their own. But it's all good. It's all part of the creative curve. Yes, we've got Gary Akers there, fresh from Thanksgiving, sporting a very nifty shirt and a topping hat as well. I think the hat of 2025 has to belong to Superman.
Of course, that's right. They didn't have a Luthor hat, so I had to get this one.
Yeah, it's good to see you, man. I'm glad you had a good time. And the rabbi from another planet back on board as well. Have you had a shave, mate? Your beard looks somewhat less.
A couple of weeks ago, though. We haven't been on for about a couple of weeks ago.
Okay.
That was his Thanksgiving shave, right?
No. It was. It just got too much, right? Just got too much. It's like if you've ever read the comic book sequel to The Prisoner, right? I think Dean Motter did it. There's a bit at the end of issue 1 where he shaves his beard, right? It's kind of like that, but. If you didn't get that reference, there's not much I could do for you.
I remember that.
That's a deeper than deep cut, but I did buy that series, so I know what you mean.
It's actually quite good.
Yeah.
And I can't believe this. You know, Chris, you've gone about you being the grumpy one, and yet you've got the Christmas bunting up even before the rabbi has popped on his little hat with oi 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 on it. Check it out. I love the icon.
So that's he's going to be here for the month. This is I've become Santa. So if I was Santa, this is what it would look like, because everybody knows how optimistic and happy I am. So Santa is here to ruin your Christmas. Merry Christmas, you bastards. No presents for you, you smarmy little shit.
I think this is all an act. I think Chris is sitting there. There's like a plate of Christmas cookies next to him. You know, for him to eat on.
The best Christmas cookies are still English.
Nobody else is getting my Christmas cookies, but I'll have my damn Christmas cookies.
I really miss the was it Mr. Kipling's was it Bakewells? What was it saying? Bakewell?
Bakewell tarts.
Bakewell tarts. Oh, they were great. They were great mince pies. It's the most wonderful time of the year. It's the best food. In my synagogue today, right? I was telling people, oh yeah, we do a full Christmas dinner. Right, and people were like clutching their chests. I'm like, no, it's a cultural thing in England, right? Muslims keep Christmas. Oh, well, they did when they were a minority.
Yeah, they don't anymore.
Down Christmas markets. But before that, they kept like it's. I love Christmas. Christmas is great. I got my Christmas hat ready to go. Bit too early, but it's coming, ladies and gentlemen. It's coming.
If that's not worth the wait, I don't know what is. So. Yeah, it's nearly here. I mean, I saw my first Christmas tree up when I was running. You know, I'd run every day, so I was running the streets, and I noticed my first Christmas tree in someone's window the last week of August. Sarah,
no, that's going a bit much. A bit.
That's what we're dealing with. That's very much what we're dealing with here. But I think it's because people have had such a rough year. Is that they want to get to the nice bit. That bit quicker, and I think, well, should I really begrudge them that? Probably not. It just makes me a bit grumpy, and when I get a bit grumpy, I have to watch something or see something that cheers me up. I usually find that this does the trick.
Oh, you got me walking side to the side.
That's very much how we rock on the Spacebook Live.
Yes, it is.
Rock backwards and forwards. Yes, no updates on how she got on yet, but obviously I hope she recovered from whatever the injury was.
That was obviously from Canada.
Well, yeah, but if it's from Canada, almost certainly she's on some kind of drug. Everybody here's on drugs. And she pooped in alleyways behind my house.
You can't smuggle any of that.
Go with it.
You can't smuggle any of that into the average cinema, I would imagine. I mean, I always take my own snacks when I go to the cinema now.
No, they do it in cinemas now too. They do it everywhere. You can't watch a movie without somebody shooting up. I love my country. Okay, no more ranting. I'm gonna shut up now. Hi everyone. Let's all have the sing along.
We've got Donnie in the live chat as well as PD Rich. Who else is here? I think I've definitely seen Lord Thoth. Funky, yeah, we've done Funky. We know he's here or present and as correct as he's ever going to be. Has Skydance cancelled South Park yet? I don't know. Don't care. There we go. Yeah. Does anybody watch South Park anymore?
No.
Not since this season. Oh my God, it's been awful.
No, we have no answer to this, PD Rich, but we can put the feelers out, see if we can find out anybody who cares, and then we might be able to find an answer. So there we go. I thought that show had finished about 10 years ago, but there we are. Okay, so yes, Funky, we are absolutely not touching this argument. It's only Christmas when the annual event of the Die Hard debate starts.
Yes, it is a Christmas film.
No, not at all.
It is a Christmas movie. It is blood and carnage at Christmas. It is a Canadian Christmas movie.
There you go. No strong feelings about that at all, obviously. So we're going to get stuck in right now to the main topic. Hold tight, everybody, and let's go back to the 80s. Well, sort of. to the late 80s for that, but we're going a little bit earlier on for our film this time because we're celebrating the 40th anniversary of the premiere, the UK premiere, which was for a change the global premiere of the fourth film from director Ridley Scott. That's Legend from 1985, maybe one of his lesser spoken of works, and probably one of the less reviewed of the fantasy films and sort of tentpole family-friendly fare films of the entire decade. It had that staggered global release pattern, and there were massive problems for the film throughout its entire process, really, from its initial idea through to when it was actually released. If you've not seen it or haven't seen it for a while, here's a quick look about how Legend went down, the sights and the sounds and the scares. See if this still gives you the chills after 40 years.
There is a balance to the universe. The struggle to maintain that balance is the stuff of legends.
The new film from the director of Alien.
I've found my true mate.
You disgust me.
Starring Tom Cruise and Tim Curry.
Never!
Legend. Rated PG.
That was very somber in and of itself, wasn't it? I can go for years without even thinking about this film, and then I see, I sincerely can, and then I see a poster or still image of one particular character. I think, oh, I should really go and rewatch that, and I never do. There's always other things that sort of get in the way. I have other ideas about things that I've got fonder memories of, or that just feel like a little more me. For whatever reason, this tended to fall between the cracks with me back then, even though I did see it on release. Obviously, it's got one particular actor in it, went on to be hugely famous. It wasn't Tom Cruise's first film by a long chalk, but it was a very early movie. And it's not one I don't think I've ever heard him talk about, certainly at any length, acknowledge when he does those sort of retrospectives of his career and things like that. So it's an odd film in that it doesn't seem to have a great deal of a cultural footprint. But Sarah, this was your choice, wasn't it? Why did you want to talk about Legend in particular?
I think, yeah, just that. I feel like it's a very underrated gem, and it gets forgotten about because there was that many. You know, you got Labyrinth, Willow, Krull. There was, the Dark Crystal. There was lots of fantasy in that time, and I think, like you were saying, it did fall in them cracks. And I just think it's fascinating because, yeah, it bombed on release, but then through VHS and, on broadcast on TV, it's kind of gained in popularity. I don't think it's kind of got the status of maybe like Labyrinth did. But I think in recent years, I think it deserves a real evaluation. So, yes, I'm really championing this. I caught it when I was little, scared the absolute crap out of me, but I was fascinated by it. And it just became an obsession. And, yeah, I'm a really big fan of this film. So I think it's going to be an interesting conversation to get into. I can see Rabbi shaking his head.
I know. I'm so bad. I feel so bad to disagree with you. I agree with you on most of your choices. But okay, if you want to know this is a good gauge, right, of where I'm holding with this movie. And I saw it in the 80s, and I didn't really like it, so I went and I went and thought, yeah, I'm about 40 years older. Let's see if it, if it's I was just callow youth. And this week, I had an extended. Manic psychological breakdown, right? I was literally awake for 3 days. This is all true, right? I didn't sleep for 2 nights running, and I went completely insane. That was way better than watching Legend. Awful! Oh my god! Oh god!
I'm not saying it's perfect. I'm not saying it's perfect. It has got its flaws.
No. Sarah, God bless you. You love it. No one has to explain why they like something, right? You like it. You like it. You like it. Okay. It's just like I like fantasy. I like the era. I would rather watch literally anything else. It was awful. The only good thing was Tim Curry, and he's not in it enough, right? Like,
well, let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's not get ahead of ourselves here. It's one of. I did see this at the cinema at the time, but I'd kind of memory hold it along with things like Caravan of Courage and what was it? Shanghai Surprise with Madonna. You know, it just never particularly stayed with me at the time. But that doesn't necessarily mean that I wouldn't enjoy it all these decades on. I quite agree, Rabbi. The synopsis goes like this. In an idyllic, sun-dappled forest, the pure-hearted Jack takes his true love to see a pair of unicorns frolicking at the forest's edge. This is off the back of the DVD. I didn't write this shit. Little do they know that the Lord of Darkness has dispatched his minions to capture the unicorns and sever their horns. What a bastard. So that he may plunge the world into everlasting night. Jack must team up with a group of forest creatures and descend into darkness's subterranean lair to face off against the devilish creature before it's too late. Did I do that justice? I don't know. Obviously, this was an early film now from Ridley Scott. He had several big hits before then. This was sandwiched between two kind of film noirs, I suppose, Blade Runner in 82 and Someone to Watch Over Me, which came along in 87. But even in a career like Ridley Scott, which is full of curious choices, Gary, Legend really stands out, doesn't it, when you look back across those decades?
Well, I mean, obviously, two of his earliest ones, were the Alien, a big hit, Blade Runner, a flop at the time, but has become hailed as a masterpiece. And I think he I don't know if he did a movie in between Blade Runner and this, but then I guess he decided he wanted to kind of go back to do this. And he, you got to feel for the guy, because it seems like a lot of his movies just don't really, he has these grand, sincere visions, but they never seem to turn out exactly like what he wants, either because of studio interference or whatever. I do want to question at this point something, your description earlier, Dan. I would not consider this Sarah was right. It came out in the heavily fantasy-oriented mid-'80s. I would not consider this a family-friendly film. I think this is, it's a fairy tale, yes, but I actually think this is more of kind of like it's almost kind of like an art film in a way, like it's like a dark fantasy, but it's not, I wouldn't put this in the same category as more, bring the family in, because, it's so stylistic.
Obviously, I don't know about the States or any other territory, but they marketed it in Britain at families. And I think that may have been anybody who would have taken their children to see this would have probably had to have left within about 20 or 30 minutes. Well, one of a number of factors.
Ridley always said that this was meant to be, his vision was, it was a fairy tale for adults. And it was the studio that, promoted it as a family film.
He spent years making it, apparently, because he was tired of science fiction, apparently, Rabbi. So he spent years developing the story and had these lofty ambitions for it, this would be a film more than his others, which would sort of stand the test of time and would be something that would get passed down. But I think part of it was the fact that he was still quite young and he'd only made a few films. Perhaps he didn't understand audience trends the way that he would come to. And part of it, I think, was the same as Sarah was saying, it's just studios dicking around with something. And they messed with it to be fair to him, they messed with it on every level. But to be fair, when we press play, Rabbi, we can't consider things like that.
I don't know, exactly. I was going to say about the marketing, because I think it's a shame, because it was around that time, maybe a year or two later, you had the Company of Wolves come out, which was exactly marketed that
same
way.
year.
Mm-hmm. No, was that the same year? Get out of here.
No, it was 84, Company of Wolves, the Wolfgang Petersen movie.
Yeah, like if they marketed, I think it probably would have done better.
They're very similar.
But you're absolutely right. I can't imagine the emotional scarring you're giving to children. That's just hearing the leading lady sing to a horse with a bit of a horse staple to its head, right? Why is she singing randomly at things? I don't know. But yeah, this is gonna don't take your kids to this. You know what happens if you take your kids to this? You're going to wake up 40 years later and your country's completely different and a shithole, right? That's what's going to happen.
I'm just happy that I wasn't old enough at the time to have a child during the scene where what I think, we'll talk about it, what I think is one of the more memorable scenes in the movie, the dancing scene, where the black figure, then all of a sudden she changes. And now I would hate for my little child to look up and go, Daddy, what just happened? Why does she look like that now? And I would have to say, well, she's discovered darkness and sexuality, Johnny. You know, it's like, what do you say to that scene?
Well,
like I said,
I mean, Gary, the script was even worse. I mean, I don't know if you've seen the behind the scenes stuff, Dan, but an early script was that they actually did have sex, and somebody I above I think the head of Fox said, no, we can't have the maid have sex with the villain. That is not going to happen.
We can't figure out how to put that on the poster.
No. I mean, Mia Sara plays Lily in this. To me, she's the chick from Ferris Bueller.
Yep.
God, I fancied her at the time.
Who she is.
That was
she was Sloane in Ferris Bueller's Day Off. This, this a year or two later, but she was always. This was, in my opinion, this was the role of her career. She's still around now. I know we'll probably touch on that later on. But I liked her, and for obvious reasons. But weirdly, young lads of my age also liked Tom Cruise at this time. Very sensibly, he'd started off his career by making, there was a couple of lesser films, but Risky Business really did win over the kind of demographic that would usually be dead against a pretty boy like this. But because he was kind of living the dream, he was one of us, in the same way that Matthew Broderick would be in Ferris Bueller, come to think of it. This was all good. And we were interested in what he was going to do next. And so when he turns up in this, playing a fucking pixie or whatever he's meant to be, you think, what's going on? But they do, I mean, they made a striking couple. And again, Sarah, you're quite right. This was the era of Never-Ending Story. And Rabbi mentioned Company of Wolves. There's lots of movies like this. And so it did fit at the time. But this wasn't, from a lad's point of view, it's like, why is he pouncing around in what looks like a miniskirt, messing around? It was just not what we wanted to see. And so it left no mark on me, to the point where I almost forgot that Cruise was in it at the time. When I
totally forgot till I rewatched it. I had no idea.
It's like a different person, Rabbi.
Yeah, I genuinely know. I found the wood nymph, the boy wood nymph thing he'll bounce around with, way more disturbing. I'm like, in 2025, that feels very pedo-ish, right? It's just like, put some clothes on the kid, would you? This is going in a bad direction.
I think that even though it was a gamble on Scott's part, and I didn't know it was aimed at adults, Sarah, that does seem strange, because as much as films like Labyrinth, they are very warm and very cuddly and have that kind of Jim Henson aesthetic. Yeah, see what I mean? They've got all that going on. There is a lot of darkness in that film. A lot of people do find that film disturbing. A lot of adults still do find certain sequences of it triggering, to use modern language. But there's something about Legend which just feels like it's really it goes from one extreme to the other, to the very sort of life and fluffy, to the depth of sort of darkness. I suppose in the same way that Tolkien, Peter Jackson's films of Tolkien kind of represent the two different domains in Middle Earth. I think he was going for that. But this is just 90 minutes to try and convince us of that world, of that the domains themselves are real, that these two characters who barely seem to know one another are very deeply in love, and that the stakes are so high. And as the rabbi says, there's a great villain of the piece in this, in the form of Tim Curry as darkness, which is such a striking image. This is where I remember seeing it mostly, on the front of the VHS rental cassette, Chris. There was copies of this lining my local store, and there were never many of them taken out, funnily enough. But this image alone, it's iconic of itself. But I think a lot of people recognize that image, and may even know that Tim Curry played the devil in this. But even if they haven't seen the film, I think it's almost bigger than the film itself. For some reason, what do you think the legacy of this film is, Chris? I mean, is this one that you've seen a lot from a horror aficionado's point of view? What are the scares rate in your book?
Well, I had seen the picture. I think I may have seen this movie maybe at some point in the 80s. This was like back when 80s kids movies were terrifying. But as for my experience, so back in the day, I used to smoke the ganja until I gave up that and everything else that's fun. But as I'm watching this, I'm like, this would go really well being baked out of my tree. But no, that was not an option. I ended up watching it being stone cold sober. Yes, Tom Cruise is in this. Okay, this is going to be interesting. And then what? He's playing a pixie. What the hell is this? And then there's the dwarf. And then and Dan, you know what my pet peeve is? Well, not my pet peeve. What's the one thing that I hate in movies?
Boredom.
Dwarves.
No, well, everybody hates boredom. No, I hate sad scenes with animals. It's like my Achilles heel.
Yes.
Yeah.
So what Dan, when we watched this, I'm like, Dan, are there any sad scenes involving unicorns? No, there was a sad scene involving a unicorn. So that made me sad. But as for the movie itself, this was an acid trip. I actually found looking into the making of this almost more interesting than the movie itself. Especially the fact that they burnt down the entire forest studio while on lunch. That was fun. There's some pictures of that.
Yeah.
So that forest that you see in the movie, they built that whole thing on a soundstage. And I guess health and safety at Pinewood Studios back in 1984 isn't quite what it is now. And so they had, so with their fires, they'd use like gas, propane to light the fires. And basically, I guess they didn't turn the propane off at all when they were done. So the gas had been gathering up in the ceiling, and they all went for lunch, and they had like 8 days of filming left. And then the whole thing just ignited into a big inferno. Google the images, actually. It's quite impressive. It looks like a bomb was dropped. This studio had no roof left. So I found that interesting. As for the movie itself, it is rather dark, and actually, Dan, I ended up doing a comparison between this and another. I watched another movie right after this one because I'm like, wait, these movies that I grew up with, were they darker than I remember? We just really twisted as kids. So the one that I watched right after this, just as a point of comparison, was The Sword and the Sorcerer. I don't know if you've seen that, but I've also noticed that these are two movies I should not have watched when I was a kid, because that movie has a scene of a troll being hacked to death. So us kids, we grew up with disturbing things. So Tom Cruise, it was an interesting performance. I didn't even realize that it was Tim Curry as the devil until like who's Dan Curry? Oh, that's him. Oh, that's disturbing. So I guess there's like multiple cuts of this film, and the cut that was released in theaters apparently doesn't even have Jerry Goldsmith's score
in the U.S.
Yeah, so I guess in the UK got the other one.
It's often tempting when we look at films like this to look at the stuff that happened sort of around the outside of it, and things that were cut and things that were left there and all that kind of thing. It
was a disaster from what I can tell. And also the apparently Ridley Scott's original movie was 2.5 hours long, and it was cut down to, I think it was 1 hour and 33 minutes as part of the butchery. And apparently there's like multiple versions of this. I think that the one that I watched was from like the 25th anniversary. So I think this is the Goldsmith score, so I'm assuming it's the final cut.
The one I watched was like a director's cut from the early 2000s, and it was like nearly 2 hours. That's
the one I watched, Rabbi.
Yeah, that's the superior version, I think.
Yeah, well, I stuck to. Look, I've got it on DVD. I mean, for the purposes of these reviews, it is best to watch the ones that were at the cinema, because it's the ones that most people remember and have seen. So I've got the 90-minute one from the cinema, the one that I watched. And what I noticed about it was that despite all the darkness, it was darker than even I'd remembered. Despite all of the darkness, and that there is a certain amount of, some of it is distressing. I agree, Chris. It's never, there's no gratuitous violence. It's still very kind of
it's implied violence, which here's the thing when you're a kid.
I was going to say cartoonish, but it's more theatrical. It's like it's on stage. So Tom Cruise will take center stage, throw his legs apart, and gesture to the air like that. And I think all that stuff really works. But where I think it doesn't work, and I'm not saying there should have been. I'm not saying he shouldn't have sort of thrown her down, and there should have been some sort of torrid lovemaking scene. But the distance between Jack and Lily is so great emotionally and physically. I don't believe it's like they barely know one another to me. So somewhere, everything about this film feels out of alignment to me. So I find it very difficult to invest in. And the story's quite slight anyway, and I find it very difficult to find the story because of all the rest of it.
Well, I think that, and this kind of clicked into me about a half an hour into my rewatch, is that, and I don't know if this was Ridley Scott's intent, since this is basically a fairy tale with kind of adult overtones, and Sarah, you called it, what did he call it? He called it a fairy tale for adults.
For adults, yeah.
That in fairy tales, so as in most fairy tales, as in this film, the characters aren't really fleshed out. They're archetypes. We have the hero, we have the princess, we have the devil, and I don't think that it felt to me like Ridley Scott didn't feel that the characters were as important as the look and the feel and the mood that he was going for. So that's why Jack, the Tom Cruise character, I think is pretty much as a character, he's kind of a blank slate. I think he's there to react to all the other characters that are more flamboyant and memorable, like Gump, like the dwarves, like the darkness, and all of that. And that's why there's so many reaction shots of Cruise, especially that scene where he goes into the cave to get his armor. And then I guess Una, the fairy, when she shows up, he just has this kind of look, that he's just kind of.
So what you're suggesting, Gary, because there's not a great deal of dialogue in this either, is that what Ridley Scott was trying to communicate was that the things that characters were feeling and emoting. And therefore, this would almost be, for example, this would play quite well in different territories, maybe where they weren't, English wasn't the first language. It would still play quite well because it has that kind of European, that Tales of Europe, Franco Zeffirelli kind of feel to it. Do you think that was a conscious?
It's an art film. I felt this was more of an art film than a mainstream multiplex fantasy movie. And a lot of the movie works for me on that level. We'll talk about the production design later and some of the shots, which I think are incredibly amazing. But I don't know. We talked about Cruise before. I'm not really sure what he saw in this role that really attracted him to it, because like I said, for so much of the role, he's there to just kind of react to everything.
Well, I think probably on paper it sounded like a really interesting idea. It's Ridley Scott who was riding high, right? He was doing really, really well. Who was an out of the box thinker, trying to do something different, right? And they all say you have no idea if a bad movie is a bad movie on script, right? No, and so it seemed like all the elements were there to make this like. And I think he pushed himself to do something different. And the price of creativity, of being creatively free, is a failure sometimes, right? And I look, it works for some, but it's generally speaking didn't really hold in memory like pretty much any other fantasy film. I was watching this and thinking, oh man, I really would be watching Labyrinth, right? That's what kept going through my head, right? Also, I thought Jennifer Connelly was way hotter than whoever she is, right? I was like, that makes a difference.
Well, one thing I have to say is,
Sarah.
Well, one of the ways that I judge movies too, one is the story, but for me, because I love filmmaking and I love the visual atmospheric aspect of film, and I think that's one of the strengths of this. I'm like, it's beautifully shot. And you could tell this was and you could tell this was done around the same time as Blade Runner, which is also, I think, one of the most visually beautiful films ever made. So I think visually it's amazing. Jerry Goldsmith's score is incredible, and I like the atmosphere that it evokes. I would like to see a definitive cut where we see all the stuff that was cut out of the movie, because it's, and you can usually, you could tell 40 years ago, and you can tell now when something's been butchered by the studio, because there's tonal shifts, and there is tonal shifts throughout the film. And there are just, you could tell that something's missing, like the buildup of the whole romance between,
because tonally, but you're quite right, tonally it's very even, but it does jump and jolt, doesn't it?
It
is, Joe. But
so let me ask you, Sarah, of the what is it, like 3 different versions of the movie, which one do you think is the best one?
I prefer the director's cut, which I think is about an hour and 33 minutes.
I thought that's
the director's cut that I watched was like just shy of 2 hours, like the
rabbi. Sorry, that one, yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's an hour and 52 minutes.
Yeah.
That's the one, yeah. Just because it's the closest to what Ridley wanted. We'll never get to see that original 2.5 hour version, because it's either been destroyed or it got lost. The footage is gone, unfortunately. So kind of like the director's cut's kind of it. I've seen both versions. I've seen the US version. The Tangerine Dream soundtrack just does not work for me at all. It really takes me out of it. The Jerry Goldsmith.
For the people who don't know,
I'm like, what?
Because there'll be people who have no idea what this is about. So this was the most controversial aspect of this movie, which gets talked about even in music circles because of this factor. So it was released within 2 entirely different musical scores. For the European release, Ridley Scott himself commissioned this lush, sweeping, very traditional and orchestral score from Jerry Goldsmith, who'd got this massive track record. And that score in itself is considered to be somewhat of a masterpiece. I think it was released on vinyl and CD, so it's got its own sort of myth, I suppose, as most of Goldsmith's work did. I think he died about 20 years ago, didn't he? So he's been gone a long time. But Universal Pictures, they were really concerned that sort of more classic traditional score would not appeal to the teenage bracket, which they felt that they really needed to attract with this. They didn't see it as an adult's film at all. They seemed very aware of the culture at the time and that swell of fantasy movies, due in no small part, I'm certain, to George Lucas. And so they decided to completely replace Goldsmith's score specifically for the American theatrical release, but with a synth-heavy kind of ambient score from the German group Tangerine Dream. Which seems, it's one thing. Yeah, let's go for mass market to the kids. We'll get a German electro synth. And I love Tangerine Dream. I think they did the music for Michael Mann's terrible film, The Keep, as well. But they did score big for me by doing the music to Street Hawk a little while later. I've only ever seen the Jerry Goldsmith version. Yeah. As I say, I've only ever seen the standard theatrical of this back then, and every time I've gone back to it. So I only know of this one. But I can imagine that to change something so drastically, each version must be, to some extent, a completely different experience and may even push totally different buttons.
Yeah. I think one of the reasons why also I read that they got Tangerine Dream is because Tangerine Dream did some of the music for Risky Business, which was Tom Cruise's, so there was an association there between, not that Cruise said, "Oh, I want Tangerine Dream music," but
no, Tom was very angry. I think this is again one of the many reasons he doesn't talk about it. He was so angry about what actually happened because he was quite proud of what they'd achieved, and then obviously what got released in the theaters like bore no resemblance.
Well, he throws himself into this. I can't criticize Tom Cruise, Mia Sara, Tim Curry, or any of the other actors involved in this. I think they throw themselves in it wholeheartedly. And considering that he's basically wearing what looks like a miniskirt, fair play to look that stupid on screen for as long as he was prepared to, and to play it with absolute conviction, really does say something. It didn't affect his career, as I'm sure we'll talk about later on. But I've always got the impression that Cruise has curated his career from the get-go very, very carefully. And yet we talked earlier on, Rabbi, you mentioned it about why wouldn't he want to work with Ridley Scott at this time? It's the same, same as when he worked with Kubrick on Eyes Wide Shut. Who would turn that down? And particularly if the directors are going to work with you rather than just whack you in something and hope for the best. I think Tom Cruise was, I wouldn't say he was clever in choosing this, but I think it was daring. And again, he doesn't slag it off that I'm aware of. Even if he's spoken about the conflict, he doesn't.
I have never heard Tom Cruise speak negatively about anything he's ever done.
No.
Yeah.
Right? He's always been a class act like that way.
I would think he'd be more angry at the studio for butchering it than for Ridley Scott.
I found it, even though I did only watch the theatrical one, the 90-minute one. So bear in mind that accounts for about 82 minutes of screen time. I found, like the Rabbi, I found this very difficult to get through. It tested my patience. The only thing that kept my attention were the special effects, with those vistas. I quite like the music, but it's of its time. It's Jerry Goldsmith. It's really quite standard, but it's visuals. What am I going to see next? That bit, this bit is gorgeous. That part is really worth waiting for. Is that scene as scary as I remember it? So the very few memories that I got, there's just not enough in it to hold my attention for longer than 10 minutes at a time. And none of the characters. I can see now you've said that about the archetypal sort of the leads in particular, Gary. But so I find it difficult. I find it difficult to excuse the fact that Scott didn't flesh out some of the supporting characters, because they were quite curious, weren't they? The various dwarves and pixies, played by character actors, British and American character actors, including Deep Roy, he'd been in everything then, and even more so now. So he's in there along with Billy Bartley, various other people. So they were perfectly capable of fleshing out those characters and making them far more idiosyncratic. But this scene, funnily enough, where this character gets shot through the hat with an arrow as they're trying to make an escape. Well, I'm meant to feel that, but because I barely know him, and it's all done for larks, and so none of it really works for me. I think I was about 20 minutes into it where I realised why this film has never really its charm has eluded me. I think the scene that I liked the most was right at the start, where Lily goes to the cottage to meet with the common folk.
You're right.
And she cuddles. She meets with that like a farmer's wife or something, and she goes and she kisses. Even though you can tell they're meant to be from two completely different worlds. So immediately that's interesting. She kisses her and holds her. They're both very fond of one another. There's a bond there. If not a motherly one, then certainly like an aunt, extended family. I thought that was fascinating, and we never see that fucking character again.
Well, she's an icicle, right? I mean, she gets frozen.
Although it's kind of funny how we'll see different things. I actually the arrow in the head. I actually burst out laughing during that scene. I know that wasn't the intent, or it may have been. Well, at this point, I'm sad because they're being mean to the unicorn, and then that I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's I don't know what it is, but it's kind of funny how we've had two completely different reactions to it. Where Dan did not like it, and this is supposed to be a serious drama, but that scene was hilarious. So possibly my favorite scene in the whole thing.
I mean, I always thought that, well, first of all, I wish that at the time, Ridley Scott would have had enough pull to where he wouldn't have been able to be kind of steamrolled, by the studio, and have what was actually released be what he wanted to be released. That's always, really sad, because you appreciate.
That would have made a difference? Do you think that would have made a difference?
Well, let me ask. Dan? I don't know, Dan. Have you ever seen the version that Rabbi and I are talking about, like the hour 52 minute? You should, because I think that they add a lot of clarifying.
I have never been remotely curious, because I've probably seen this film about 5 times in my life, and every single time I watch it, I have the same experience whereby I say it wouldn't bother me if I never saw this film again. It's that kind of thing. I never feel like I've wasted,
breaks my heart
because it's only 82 minutes. I never feel like I've wasted my time as such. Just think, well, you know, about halfway through, you know, I was getting a little bored. But I made my way. But every time I watch it, I think, God, and to the point where I was thinking, I should just donate this DVD because I'm never going to watch this thing again. So the idea of watching another half an hour of it, I just think there's no way I'd do that. It wouldn't matter if Kylie was doing the music. I wouldn't go anywhere near this again.
I think it was always going to be a difficult balance where you take basically fairy tale imagery like dwarves and satyrs, which is what the Gump is, and princesses and all of that, and with the kind of like adult tone that he's trying to bring, which was probably, I guess, maybe in the original book that this was based on. But I mean, there's issues of temptation because she's tempted a lot throughout the movie. She's kind of like selfish. She wants to go like touch the unicorns, and Tom Cruise says, you know, you shouldn't do that. And she says, I don't care. I wanted to, which is why I kind of started not liking her character. But then, you know, so there's all these kind of like themes going on, but it's really hard to balance with what is essentially kind of a, as you said, kind of like a family atmospheric kind of fairy tale thing. And if you unbalance that even in the slightest, it's going to not work.
You know, I think a problem when comparing this to its fancy contemporaries, things like Labyrinth, things like Krull, things like Princess Bride, the difference there is that people know that this storytelling is archaic. It comes from like 400 or 500 years ago, right? And if I do this thing called study this tractate of Jewish law from like 2,000 years ago, and you do a page a day. It takes like 7.5 years, right?
Wow.
On my third. But the fascinating thing is you see the mindset of people who are from a different time to you, and it's incomprehensible, right? It's an alien world. So the 400-500 year ago storytelling, I think it's very hard to translate that to a modern world. And the ones that do it, which I think are much more beloved, again, Labyrinth, right? There's a bit of a wink to camera with them, whereas this is less like I mean, again, comparing it to Company of Wolves, that works because it's much more graphic and nasty, right? Whereas this one is, again, maybe it's the studio trying to make it into a family-friendly thing. Because I don't know, I think it's a bold experiment, but I think it's worked many other places other than here, right? So that might be the difference.
Have you ever seen that film that Jennifer Lopez made about 20 years ago called The Cell?
Yes.
It reminds me of that in places. Obviously, that's also really quite dated, but it's more fleshed out. And obviously, that was adult. But the darkness in that reminds me, I suppose, of this. So I think that if we were using sort of modern, the way that we tend to sort of reflect on movies now, the question that you'd probably ask is, who is this for? Who does this appeal to? Is this an unsung great of 80s cinema? And I have to come back with the firm answer, not. I think it's a curiosity at best. But I'm fascinated by the idea that you latched onto it, Sarah. So, because obviously you weren't born until after this was released. Bloody hell. You weren't born until after this was released.
I was born February 1985, so I was a few months off.
So how did you find it? Where did you first see it?
It was on TV. I think my mum had put it on just to keep us occupied, thinking it was like a family-friendly Disney type film, and it traumatized me. You were all laughing about it. It did. One of my earliest memories is Tim Curry, with the horns. He used to have nightmares. That statue thing that comes alive.
How old were you when you saw it?
I was probably about 9, maybe 10.
Honestly, that's a great age to see it, because I can see why you love it, right?
So I was terrified, but fascinated at the same time.
Yeah.
It's that Doctor Who feeling, I suppose. And so it's always
Did you feel that you probably weren't supposed to be watching it? Was it that kind of?
Yeah,
thing?
it was like I was peeking behind the curtain or something. And any time it was on, you know, like, there's always some films that the way it's on, you'll just sit down. It doesn't matter where it is in the film, you'll just sit and watch it.
Yeah.
This for me, and I think it was just that kind of nostalgia. But I loved it from a kid. And you're right, you know, the plot is paper thin. But again, I think Gary's right. I think Gary's hit the nail on the head. It wasn't story orientated. It was the themes. It was the visual. It was just, you know, the light and the darkness. And I think I got a much more interest of it from watching like the behind the scenes. Because I just assumed that, you know, it had done well. And I was quite surprised to find out, you know, years later that it was this big flop and was cited as one of the reasons why studios stopped doing fantasy altogether.
Really?
Yeah, because it cost that much. It never made its money back. So I think it's kind of a cautionary tale about studio interference and filmmaking. I think it should be studied.
Have you ever seen the Ricky Gervais show, Life's Too Short, with what's his name?
Warwick Davis.
Was it?
Warwick Davis?
Warwick Davis, right. So at one point he's showing you through his office and he shows the poster for Willow. Says, that movie cost $20 million to make, and it's nearly made all its money back by now.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly like it.
Well, this must have been a complete headache for the studio to try to figure out how to market. And Dan, as you said before, I mean, you know, you have all they look at it and they go, well, it's not this, it's not that. So let's just go ahead and try to, we might as well just go ahead and roll the dice and try to market it as a family friendly movie. But I mean, Dan, you had the one biggest question is like, who was this for? And I still can't figure. Late teens, adults, I have no idea.
Sarah, when she's 9 years old.
It was made for me.
I think
a flip side to this that does the same thing but in reverse is the Salkind film directed by what's his name? Jean Swartz, the Santa Claus the movie film. That's the inverse of this. That's another film that's difficult to work out who that's for. That's because it's so light and it's so on the surface very light and fluffy, and there's not a great deal of substance to that. But they're trying. You can see they're trying to pin it to something a bit more substantial and to create something that would have a sort of lasting appeal. But that also always makes me feel just the same way this film does. And yes, it's far, far longer. There's arguably more famous faces in it. But it's a sort of a different kind of film with a lot of the same problems that came out at around the same time. So they were going for these projects, throwing a lot of money at them, and thinking, well, this is bound to work, isn't it? And then they would sort of have to intervene afterwards. The extended life, the only extended life that I'm aware of for Legend really is that image of Tim Curry as the devil, striking even now, and you used to see it on T-shirts and things like that, and Athena style posters, just him, no other bugger. I'm sure a lot of people will have seen that poster and have no idea it comes from a film because Curry himself is unrecognizable. So you've got that. But I used to go to a wine bar. Don't laugh. I used to go to a wine bar. This was in the 90s. And they used to have rabbis. Do you remember the big video walls like Kenny Everett used to sit and talk in front of? So they got a big video wall. And so while we were all getting smashed on Alco Pops and trying to cop off with various women that were in there, they would play music, but they would sometimes play music videos. But what they would also do is they would play mixes of music, like a mixtape of music from around a particular time, from say a lot of tunes from 85, and they would play, rather than a music video, they'd play movies. They must have had a license to do this. Actually, maybe they didn't, thinking about where this was.
Probably didn't.
One of the films they used to do that with was this, because obviously, firstly, because there's not really any dialogue, and it just looks so beautiful. So that the light from the various shots would reflect all around the bar, and it would go like a mini dance floor and stuff like that, and that kind of air of romance and darkness about it. You know, particularly as the night was going on, you're getting more and more drunk. So that's the only extended life I'm really aware of with this. I don't think it turns up on TV very often, and it's not one that I hear people talk about a lot. So when you suggested it, look, that's really interesting. It would have been one of the last films I would have ever expected anybody to suggest, because I don't think about this film for sometimes 10, 12 years at a stretch, but I'm sort of glad I went back to it, because it was about time, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I think it is, apart from the rabbi, it's a complete waste of time, but I think if you're interested in film, like the filmmaking process, that creative side, I think you can get a lot out of this, and I know it inspired people like, Guillermo del Toro, Pan's Labyrinth, all that. You can see the DNA from this, and others as well. But I've got a question that, if you compare it to, say, like Labyrinth, you've both got like a main character that you've got Sarah in Labyrinth and you've got Lily here. They're both actually quite unlikable. Sarah's a spoilt brat. She don't want to look after her baby brother. I didn't like Lily, like Gary pointed out. She swans in, she helps herself to food. She's always taking stuff. She's impatient. She's reckless. She wants to touch the unicorn. She's quite selfish. And then she goes on this journey to the point
it's the Adam and Eve thing, isn't it? Don't eat the apple, that kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah. And then obviously by the end, she's willing to sacrifice herself to save the unicorn. But I think maybe Lily ought to have been the main character like Sarah was. We get to see Sarah grow up, overcome obstacles.
Yeah, you're right. You are right.
And maybe they all kind of...
Do you think that's because Tom Cruise's character Jack, even though he's got the more common name, I suppose, everybody's got an Uncle Jack, haven't they? But he's the one that feels otherworldly, and so it's difficult to relate to him. That she's a slightly more relatable figure because she's flawed.
I think so. Because he never really seems to go on his quest, does he? I mean, he just walks into a cave and gets his armor and his sword and shield. He doesn't fight anybody. So
he fights the what's the creature in the swamp?
Meg Knucklepuss. Do you know who played that, Gary?
Of course I do.
I did. I was stunned to see that in the credits.
Who was it? Who was it?
Go ahead.
That's this guy.
Who?
The doctor from Voyager, Robert Picardo.
Wow. Okay.
An incredible performance.
Yes.
I would have never have realized that was him underneath all of that. He was quite a young actor at the time. This was probably the most unnerving scene for me, where Jack was face to face with this character and he was trying to convince her that she was beautiful and all that. That had a touch of the Brothers Grimm about it.
Yeah.
It came alive for me in that scene, and I think that it never really. I think that the scenes with Tim Curry's character could have done with more of this, more layering. He was just the ultimate big bad. This character for me was the standout, and Robert Picardo, he clearly had a lot of fun playing that. I would have never have known that was him.
Well, I mean, the production design of this movie, I mean, granted, I think maybe we could all agree that maybe the sum of all the parts wasn't as good as what Ridley Scott had hoped, but I think the production design is superb. I mean, there's some beautiful images that
Incredible.
when Jack is going over to the wounded unicorn and kneeling by it, and then the other unicorn comes up almost kind of like almost like bathed in light, kind of like standing over him. I mean, that's really striking. You have the dress dance I talked about before, darkness coming through the mirror, the castle itself, the snow when the freeze starts with the snow. I mean, there's the production design I don't think can be faulted at all.
No.
The chair that she wants her to get in, that's all kind of oozing and pulsing.
Yeah, it's alive. Yeah.
That he won't. That's gross.
At the time, Tim Curry he'd been in a few films, particularly the Rocky Horror Picture Show, which I don't like to talk about, and the movie version of Annie. He was also in that. But at the time that this came out, he was in a bit of a career lull. So he'd been around for quite a time. He's a British actor, and he'd done some TV movies and pilots and 1 or 2 episodes of this or that or the other. It had never really happened for him. But in the mid-'80s, things started to come together again. I mean, this is incredible how they transformed Tim Curry into this character. He was largely unrecognizable because, to be fair, there's only really his eyes and mouth that actually belong to him in the final realization of the demonic darkness character. And I can only imagine what this was like, how many days he spent getting caked in all that latex and makeup, Rabbi. I mean, I suppose he was remunerated handsomely for it, but even so.
It's one of his most iconic roles. I mean, he can't be that upset about it.
No.
But he's very, very well remembered for that, isn't he?
Even now, it's fascinating to look at, and I think when the character moves, it's even more so. It appears to be colossal, and the environment too is also very disturbing because the production design that you were talking about, Gary, it just all belongs. He is part of the production design. It's above costume, really.
Yeah.
It's just a shame that there's so little of him.
I agree.
Yeah, honestly, that he for me, he's absolutely the best part of this movie, right? He relishes the role. He's so great in it. He's got this playfulness with it. He's really great in this movie.
Yeah, he's got some brilliant lines as well. He says, "We're all animals, my lady."
Yeah. I made it a point when I was watching the version I watched, which was the hour 52-minute version. I made it a point to see when Tim Curry comes through the mirror because I thought, okay, now we're finally getting to it. And it was like only about 30 minutes left of the movie.
Right.
So
right.
it's an hour 20 minutes in before he even shows up, which I think is kind of I don't know how you get around that, but I think that's kind of a mistake. But you're right, Dan. I mean, he's as much as part of the production design as anything else. I mean, as far as his character goes, I think it was personally, I think that as good as he is, his voice is just incredible. His makeup is just staggering. I wish he wouldn't have been like, Father, what do I do? How do I win her? Father, help me. Because he should have just been his own thing instead of going, you know what I mean? Yeah. Because then that to me kind of weakened him a little because
he should have been mega
Father.
Alpha, like
exactly.
Andrew Tate, bright red.
Exactly. Like, what should I do, Father? This and that. And then the other thing with what's her name, Lily, is that Tom Cruise, the whole movie, I love you, Lily. I love you, Lily. And then I kept going as I was sitting here watching last night. I'm going, yeah, why? Why? I mean, am I going to get any clue in this movie? Why do you love her? Other than the fact that the story demands that a character like this love a character like that. But I didn't see anything, especially when she started, as Sarah said, doing these annoying things like she goes and touches the unicorn, which she doesn't want to, which you're not supposed to do. She does all these things. She causes the problem. But then Cruz is like, oh, I love you, Lily. I still love you. And it's like, oh.
But Gary, I love the idea that she tosses the ring into the down the ravine into the river. So okay, whoever finds that ring, I'll marry them. But
that's just women. Thing. That's just women being emotionally manipulated.
Yeah, we've all been like set a very high bar to reach. But what I'm saying is that they
do it all the time.
If within the dialogue, poor Chris, if within the dialogue they'd have mentioned it every now and again, I've got to get her back and I've got to find the ring. But you forget about that and they revisit it later. Yeah. And to the point, by that point, I don't care. I'm thinking, oh, thank God this is over.
No, because
it seems like it's been on for far longer. And I don't like the way this film makes me feel because I want to like it. Every time I watch it, I want to like it. I want to see something else in it.
Well, again, that's what happens when entire segments of your movie are obviously missing and ended up on the cutting room floor or possibly in that warehouse fire. But yeah, that's the biggest problem I have with this, where you can see a movie and you can see that sections are missing, and that whole relationship makes absolutely no sense.
I mean,
Very
the world, I think, I mean, we're all the better as movie fans that there's like visual visionaries out there, like a Guillermo del Toro or a Ridley Scott, but they can't forget that what audiences connect with, audiences can appreciate the pretty pictures, but audiences need characters to connect with emotionally. Right. They need to understand why is that character feeling like that or doing that, or what's at risk and all of that. They can't just put all that aside to be transported by the admittedly gorgeous imagery. And so I think they need to realize, no, I need to give them grounded characters for them to connect with while I'm surrounding them with all of this great production design. And this was one of the instances where they didn't do that.
Yeah, I completely agree.
Tim Curry was also involved in Clue the same year. I loved this film when I was a kid. I haven't seen it in a long, long time. I think it's just been re-released, so I might have to try and pick this up. So yeah, Tim Curry started to get more interesting roles. I don't know if it was off the back of Legend, but around this time, I think it was his time. It was certainly Tom Cruise's time. So he was still a couple of years away from Top Gun. But the film that I actually prefer to Top Gun that would come around the same time, love this, was The Colour of Money with Paul Newman.
Yeah,
absolutely love this film.
Well, he got an Oscar. Didn't he get a nomination for that?
Probably, I think so. Yeah, memory's a little cloudy, but this, for me, this is still the Tom Cruise film of the 80s for me. I realise I'm the outlier. Tim Curry, of course, he's still around, but has been in poor health for a number of years. He very bravely sort of battles on. He attends events. I think he does a lot of fundraising and speaks quite a lot about his life and his career.
He's just released an autobiography as well, I think. That's definitely worth a read, I think.
He's a fascinating, curious character. Obviously, I think nowadays he's probably most famous as the Pennywise from the It miniseries. Yes. When was that? 91?
Really?
That was fall 1990.
Yeah. That was something else that I watched that I shouldn't have watched when I was a kid and I got traumatized again. Tim Curry is just in my nightmares constantly.
He was a very good Gomez Adams as well.
Yes,
he was. Yeah, he was. Yeah, so I've got a soft spot for Tim Curry, despite the fact I'm allergic to any form of the Rocky Horror Picture Show. Tom Cruise was a big star then. He's an enormous star now. Here he is. You could say this man is the epitome of Hollywood, but I think he's actually bigger than Hollywood is now, Rabbi. He's an incredibly influential, important cultural figure, a superb actor.
He's their last stand, right? You know, Tim Curry, I remember in the late 80s, early 90s, anything he appeared in just brightened the screen. There was a mediocre giant monkey movie called Congo, which he was in, and even that was only husband.
Yes, the Michael Crichton movie.
He lightens the screen of anything he's in.
Home Alone 2.
Yeah.
Sorry?
Oh, he was great in that. There was a really bad mini-series about Titanic. I mean, it came on the back of the film Titanic, and Tim Curry was in that as a villain.
In defense of that movie, it's not as bad as everybody. It is bad, but it's not terrible. I own it. I have a Titanic section. Yeah,
I love Titanic.
It's it does not. It was it was 96. It was right before or the year before Titanic came out, and yes, it does not hold up very well right next to Titanic. It looks like it was the model sets were filmed in a bathtub. But yeah.
Sarah, I'm really surprised you didn't mention that he was Long John Silver in the Muppet Treasure Island.
Of course, yes. And he had an affair with Miss Piggy. That is,
making bacon. Bloody hell! I totally forgot about that. I very rarely watch that film. Jennifer Saunders in it, which is reason enough to avoid it, in my humble opinion. Mia Sara is now 57 years of age. Here she is, married to Brian Henson, the heir of the Jim Henson whole Muppet shebang. So she's still around.
I did not know that.
She still acts. She was in The Life of Chuck. Here she is playing a nan. So she was married to Mark Hamill in this film, The Life of Chuck, from last year, which starred Karen Gillan and various other people. So apparently this was quite good. I've not seen it. I'm glad that
wasn't
Miyasara is
she,
still around and doing stuff.
Well, wasn't she like 15 when she filmed Legend?
Just 16.
She's really young. Yeah.
Is that the movie that Karen Gillan directed, Dan?
No.
This one? Oh no.
I can't quite remember who directed this. It's quite a big cast. We did some sort of preview of it last year. We did mention it because it's got so many cult actors in it. But yeah, it does look good. I think it is out on physical media already, so I'm gonna have to take a look at this. But yeah, it doesn't look sweet there. Holding hands with Mark Hamill, which rather her than me. But apart from that, I think it looks quite good. Ridley Scott very much still around. Gladiator 2 was a massive hit. Last year was that? Yeah, around this time last year.
With my favorite actor in it. Yeah, we shall not discuss.
Really, was it a hit? Was the second one a hit?
It was a huge hit. Not as big as the first one, but it was a massive success to the point where he's currently working on Gladiator 3 as well as various other projects.
No.
They should have called it Son of Gladiator.
Yeah.
How many times did Pedro go see himself? That's a lot of viewings.
I would have done that as well, but I suppose it would have blown some of the ambiguity that's present in that film. So the third film, he has spoken about this. There is a synopsis. It's a third and final film, which takes the story of the family a few decades on. So I think the second Gladiator film was a lot of fun, but you never really know what you're going to get with Ridley Scott now any more than you did then. He's made as many films that I wouldn't say hated, but that I've not felt. Like I never felt G.I. Jane. I never really felt.
Did you watch Prometheus?
I love Prometheus.
I love that movie, but again, it was also quite a divisive film, wasn't it? So he's a strange filmmaker. I wouldn't say he's a big risk taker anymore, but he does his thing, doesn't he? And he won't be moved from the projects that he's working on. And quite regularly, he pulls together projects which I had assumed were dead in the water, and yet they actually happen. Gladiator 2 is a prime example. I assumed that would never happen.
I remember you saying that about 2-3 years before I said it's never going to happen. Right? I remember having that conversation.
He's done it several times. I just assumed it would go nowhere, but he seems to be able to. If Ridley Scott says he's going to make something, he's like James Cameron. He makes it. The Almighty allowing, of course.
Yeah.
Whether
we want him to or not.
Yeah, because he's got, I suppose he's got the clout, he's got the money, he's got the infrastructure in place, he knows what. And I get the impression with Scott, actually with Cameron too, come to think of it, because he's got so much bloody money, is that Ridley Scott knows the feasibility of these things before he starts making them.
So we're not going to get his own version of Megalopolis?
I think not. Do you know that's pretty much bankrupted Francis Ford Coppola? I was reading the other day.
Well, really? I mean, yeah, I think that's only fair, quite frankly.
Yeah, I felt like taking my DVD of it round to his place and shoving it sideways up.
That was the worst movie ever made.
I've been racking my brain for like the last 5 minutes trying to think. There's another Tim Curry thing that I saw like in the last year or so that I really liked him in, and I could not remember it. I finally did. In the 90s version of The Three Musketeers, the one with Kiefer Sutherland. He was Cardinal Richelieu. He was so good as Cardinal Richelieu in that movie.
I've never seen that.
Oh, Dan, it's so good.
Paul McGann's in that movie.
Loads of actors. In fact, the entire cast, I love them. I was only talking to Adam O'Brien, the Lethal Mullet, about this a couple of weeks ago, because I think he's about to record an episode of Lethal Mullet about it, and he's invited me to be on. And I said, I've never seen it. I mean, I love the song, Bryan Adams, Sting, and Rod Stewart, All for One and All for Love. I love that, and yet I never got round to seeing the film. I've seen that there've been about 3 Musketeers films made since that. I've seen all of those, but I've still never seen that.
Have you ever seen The Man in the Iron Mask, which is a Musketeer movie, which I never realized?
With Richard Chamberlain?
Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yes, I like that one.
That's really good.
Yeah, I'd show my age there. The one I remember is the one with Richard Chamberlain in it, but I do think the
that's good as well. But yeah, it's.
I remember the one Peter York.
Michael York.
Prime one, right?
I might be getting my floppy-haired Faye actors mixed up. I think it was Michael York rather than Richard. Richard Chamberlain was the man in.
Richard Chamberlain also did Count of Monte Cristo, like a TV.
That's probably where I'm getting mixed up,
that.
which was remade with Guy Pearce. I'm getting them mixed up now, guys.
That's right.
Right. That sounds right.
Yeah, so the striking imagery, the striking visuals, the captivating costumes, shall we say, incredible production design. I do think that is reason enough to revisit Legend in itself, but I personally am very grateful for the fact that I didn't sit through 2 hours of it. I am going to write this one off now, as I'll likely never go back to it. But if I was to give it a score out of 5, what would I give it? But I'd have to give it 1 for the production design because it was extraordinary. I'd give it a 2nd for some of the casting, but that's as generous as I could be. It'd have to be a 2 out of 5 from me. I'd have to stand pretty firm on that. How about you, Gary?
Yeah, I like that. If I'm giving points for individual thing, I would agree with you. Point for the production design, point for him, half point for the score, because I think Jerry Goldsmith did a great job. And so I'll do 2.5.
The half marks. I like the music, but I don't think it's memorable either. I think it's reliable. I think I think it's just sort of, it's fitting and it's there, but I don't remember any of the music. Maybe that's where I'm going wrong. Maybe I should reach for the Tangerine Dream version after all. Chris, what would you score this out of 5, mate?
Y'all stole my score. I would go, I'm going to give this basically 50%, so 2.5, because it is a visually striking film, very well shot. I love the score. I have not heard the Tangerine Dream version, and I don't think I want to. So visually, atmospherically, a brilliant film, but it loses 50% of its points for thin story and elements of the story that are completely missing. And it doesn't mean that if you have a thin story, it's going to be bad. One of my favorite films of all time is Dario Argento's Suspiria, which has a very thin story. The remake actually is the exact opposite. It has a very complex story, but very, very thin story, but it's meant to encapsulate a nightmare, or just kind of like what you were referencing earlier, Dan, The Cell. Which is deliberately a very surreal movie, and I actually rewatched that one recently. It's also it's thin on story, but it's heavy on actually creating a nightmare, almost literally. So
it's bold.
You could do basic, but there has to be a reason to do basic. There's not really a reason. The reason why it's like this is this movie was completely hacked to bits. So if you, and the version that I watched the original Blu-ray, which is an old VC1 transfer. The transfer was horrible. But even, my new player upscaled it pretty well and saved it a little bit. I would be interested if Arrow Video, because they did the re-release of the Blu-ray. If Arrow Video does one of their 4K special releases of this, I may actually buy it to see it again. Yeah, actually, that's the Arrow Video Blu-ray. I may actually end up picking this up, even though I know Dan doesn't want to see this again. I love the visuals, so I would like to see this in 4K. It could be one of those showcase pieces.
It's a beautiful.
Yeah,
I would watch it in 4K, but only in that. If they reopened the Cali, that wine bar, I'd insist on it then.
Yeah, maybe if I ever go back to the ganja, that will make it interesting. But I don't do bad things anymore.
Save that for the Tangerine Dream one.
Yeah,
We've got pretty consistent scoring so far. Then, what was yours again, Chris?
Oh, mine was 2.5, 50% for visuals, audio, and just general atmosphere, and negative 50% for lack of story, missing elements, and although I did like the head and the arrow in the head scene. So and I do also have to punish it for having a sad scene with even a mythical animal, but it did redeem itself at the end because it's back.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
But yes, So those of you like me who actually do check does the dog die.com for like every movie, because yes, I'm one of those when it comes to animals. Yes, sad things happen, but sad things are undone. So at least that's one part of the story that they didn't forget to tell.
On to you, Rabbi. What would you score this out of 5 Legend from 1985?
Again, I think you're about right. I think I was going to go for 1, but I think 2's fairer. Again, production dying fantastic, casting is great. I mean, it's just like all the ingredients are really there. It just for me doesn't gel at all. So I mean, I think 2 basically on the bravado that it took to make it.
Got to admire it, haven't you, for that, the perseverance, and for the boldness of the vision, I suppose. Does it qualify as a folly, Rabbi? Even the biggest, most successful filmmakers have those, indulge those.
I don't think so. Look, it got green lit. What can you like? They set the screen. He said, "I'm doing this," and no, I don't think it's a folly. Like Megalopolis, that's obviously a folly, right? He couldn't get any studio to finance it.
Megalopolis is in a category all by itself because none of us have ever seen anything like that or ever will see. See, Rabbi, at least Legend, even though it's missing elements, it makes sense, and you know where you're going with it. Nobody, including Coppola, knew what was going on in Megalopolis. And this was devoid of the anti-WoW sex scene or whatever John Voight was doing in that performance. So I will say this is leagues ahead of Megalopolis. This one was pretty. Megalopolis looked like somebody peed on the negative, so you couldn't even say it had that.
Well, at least had Nathalie Emmanuel in it, so that makes it all okay.
Every cloud has a silver lining.
You were saying that the lead in this was like 15, 16?
Yeah.
Same with Jennifer Connelly in Labyrinth. She was also like 16.
She looked
generally quite creepy.
I suppose they both
looked older back then. Back then, 15 looks like a modern 25, whereas 15 now looks like a 1985 8.
Yeah.
And last but not least, Sarah, where do you score this out of 5? Because obviously you've brought it to the panel this time. Go on, where would you?
Yeah, obviously I'm nostalgic for this, but it isn't a perfect film. So as a realist, I can't go higher than a 3 because the story just isn't there, and it's so unfair because, like Rabbi was saying, it's all literally there. The ingredients. It's just not quite got there. I'd love to have seen Ridley's actual, proper vision for this.
Yeah.
But I love the casting. I love the atmosphere. I love the visuals. I love the music. I mean, I love that dancing scene. Maybe it's because I'm a girl as well.
No, I don't think that's it at all. I think it's captivating.
It's as captivating is the word. Yeah, to me, it's as captivating as the ballroom scene in Labyrinth.
Yeah.
And there's so many similarities between those two films, but Labyrinth just kind of, it gets there. It's got everything going in its favor. So because of the story and it got hacked to pieces, it's got to be a 3 out of 5, unfortunately. But I'm so fond of this. I really am.
Is there a massive sort of fan base for this tucked away on some obscure website somewhere? Is this a Marmite movie? I suppose is the question. Is it one of those?
I mean, it's got a dedicated Reddit thread, but I think everything else these days. So I don't know if that counts.
So is Rent a Ghost.
Yeah, everything's got a Reddit.
Well, Sarah, you mentioned it. I mean, it is too sad because we don't really know like how close the 2-hour version that's available now that we watched is to his original. But I know that, Dan, you said that it was his original cut was like 2.5 hours. There's no way that even had the studio been lenient, there's no way that a studio was going to release a 2.5 hour like vanity project fantasy movie like this. So it would not have ended up in the theaters at 2.5 hours. It probably would have been somewhat closer to kind of the 2-hour version that it is now. So some stuff would have been lost, but that's just because I mean, now every movie now can't be less than 2.5 hours. But back in the 80s, pretty much everything was an hour and a half,
multiplex.
hour 45 minutes at the most. Yeah.
They would have just turned it into a streaming series and then padded it further. 2025, folks.
I think we've been very reasonable and kind to Legend. There's a lot to be said for going to this and seeing what you see in it, what you find in it, because I suspect, there could be people who maybe not what they expect of it, and I think that's as good a reason as any to go and give something another look. We've got some comments in the live chat. People have been sharing their views of this movie too, so I think we should go and see what they've got to say about all of that.
I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Take what you want both night and day. Then re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record,
if it's Scotch, it's guaranteed for life.
Yes, so we've been reviewing the film Legend here from 1985, early movie from Ridley Scott, fourth film, I think we said, at a very particular time in his career, coming off the back of Blade Runner, and before he would go into Someone to Watch Over Me and Black Rain and that kind of phase of his career, Thelma and Louise, all that sort of stuff. And lots of memories there, of course, and lots of comments in the live chat. Thank you, everybody. What have we got here? Graham J says, so Graham says, rewatched Legend not that long ago, having not seen it for many a year and enjoyed it. We'll be watching it again soon. Or does he mean are we watching it again soon and sticking with Tim Curry, seeing as he's clearly enjoyed that? So again, some people clearly do get a lot out of it. PD Rich says, yes, there's two versions. The amount of comments we've had, there's two versions of this. Did you know there's two versions? Yes, we did. Of course we bloody did.
I didn't. If it makes you feel any better, I had no idea.
I did.
Funky says that PG movies were a different beast in the 80s. Yeah. I doubt any of them would be less than a 12A these days. Oh, you're right, actually, because the 12A came out nearly 20 years later. 12 didn't come in until Batman in 89, so it probably would qualify for a 12A now. That kind of.
I was surprised to find that it was a PG in its release, actually.
I wasn't. That PG meant you're going to be traumatized in the 80s.
We have recently watched the mid-80s children's ITV series Dramarama Spooky DVD, and one of the episodes has Annabelle Lanyon, the Tinkerbell-like Una. So that was one of the actors. Because there was lots of British character actors were in that film. Well, it's a small cast, but they were pretty much all British. Colin says, "Hold on, the arrow knocked the hat off of that dwarf guy. It's clearly missed the head in that shot. Yeah, it doesn't quite work. Just like a lot of the film, just doesn't quite work." Precious.
Yeah, if Archer Colin tells you a fact, you can take it to the bank.
Yeah,
right. He knows his stuff.
We've got Funky. Funky's wrestling with the idea of me in a wine bar. Believe me, mate, I was there under some duress.
Oh, yeah.
I'm glad you had the pushed up sleeves, right? The jacket with a t-shirt.
It was later. It was later than that. So I'm looking at around 94, 95. So I was rocking the kind of the Oasis haircut.
Did you have a bucket hat?
A shirt, not in a wine bar. No, you wouldn't get across the fucking threshold with one of those on. But I had a shirt on very similar to the one that Gary's wearing now. I got the curtain haircut. Obviously, my cuffs, they were undone. You got to give it all that. And yes, so I was checking out the talent. Really, that was the only reason I was there, rather than the drink. Funky. So that's my excuse, and I'm sticking to it. Legend is a fantastic film. Says Dark Place 1, watching on YouTube. It went a bit heavy with the symbolism, you think?
Just a bit.
Yeah, you don't want to look too far into some of that symbolism, but it was the 80s.
That excuse only washes so far. I mean, yeah. Tim Curry was literally in a film a year from the 90s, says PD Rich, obviously a big fan of Tim's, or just watching his career very keenly. Funky also says, I have to say I was never a great fan of any of these 80s fairy tale fantasy movies. They're very popular and they have endured for the most part. I think they're really good sort of bank holiday fare. I think that's why they've been shown on TV so much. And Lord Thoth is sure there is a deep fan base for this film, Gary. I mean, I don't know. I've never come across one, but it doesn't mean.
And we haven't even mentioned that, depending on which version you watch, has a different ending. I mean, the American version with the Tangerine Dream has the two of them going off together. The version that I watched, the dress cut, and the one that Rabbi watched, she goes off by herself, turns and waves and runs off, and then he by himself then runs off and then kind of disappears into the
I was perplexed by that.
Yeah.
It's a very odd end. Yeah, we should really talk about the ending. After all the dark tone, to suddenly have that really light, fluffy ending where they're all waving, woodland creatures.
Yeah, that is studio interference. That sounds like studio interference.
The only thing I wanted to know was, is the unicorn okay, or I will be very sad.
Yes.
And the unicorn was okay, so then I was happy. Then they wave and prance off, and I'm like, what the hell?
Well, when she goes off by herself, and says, "Can I come visit tomorrow?" He's like, "I'll always be here." It's kind of like a given, like she's human, so she can never be with whatever he is. I don't think he's human. So in the American release, you've got to have a happy ending, so they go off together, arm in arm.
Well, from the other ending, from what you've described, that would be what I would take for that is that. Potentially, when he says, I'm always here, I'm always there, potentially the exact same thing could happen the following day. And it'd be like Groundhog Day. This happens to those two characters all the time. And that's the way that this world sort of exists. I don't think the ending that I watched is particularly incongruent. It wasn't memorable, made no sense. And I keep forgetting that I saw it, which is largely how I feel about the bulk of the film. Am I tempted to go? I'm still not tempted to go back and watch the other version. I'll have forgotten. He was woodland folk, says PD Rich. They literally run off waving. Yeah, so not too many people have that much to say here. Got more comments about the Scotch advert. Oh, come on, guys, let's go.
It's a classic advert, yeah.
But no, I am sincerely happy that it was about time I went back to this. I increasingly find myself gravitating towards films, particularly from the 70s and the 80s, Rabbi, not just stuff I've seen before, but stuff that I haven't, or stuff that I just didn't feel at the time. And 50% of the time, I'm delighted and surprised I see something I never saw before. Sometimes I come away with nothing. But I suppose that's part of being a sort of movie fan, isn't it? You take your chances when you can.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. I mean, again, it's worth having, something like Legend, which again didn't appeal to me, but has more appeal. But yeah, it's worth having those. So you have the experimentation that brings you a Blade Runner, that brings you like Ridley Scott's career. Like, I don't think you expecting somebody like that to like stay on the safe, narrow, and normal. Right, just isn't really going to happen, right? And because of that, we've had a lot more good movies because of it.
Well, off the back of watching Legend again, I'm going to watch two films, funnily enough. Another Ridley Scott film, which has never charmed me, has never won me over. I don't see what the fuss is about. Blade Runner. I've watched it 3 times. It just like Legend.
You don't like it. I mean,
charm, its charm has completely eluded me. But it's been quite a long time, so I'm going to go back and watch that. But
you have to be you have to be in the right state of mind to watch Blade Runner. It's one of those movies where you have to want to see it. If you just like pick it up, maybe I'll watch this, you won't like it.
That's right now I'm in a place where I do want to see it because I've been surprised by going back to some other movies that I haven't felt in the past. I'm going for that. Dan, but I also want to watch this Legend with Tom Hardy from about 10 years ago.
That is a strange film. That is a very strange film.
Okay, it's not as strange as Bronson with Tom Hardy, which I really like.
Yeah, I like that too. So I've got two Legends. So I haven't got 2 versions of the same film, totally different films.
Yeah.
It's there two
well,
Legends.
for Blade Runner, Dan, you have to figure out which one of the 5 versions you want to watch.
My recommendation: watch the final cut, and you have to watch. It's one of those films where you have to watch late at night. It's for
it's a fair point. You're not wrong on that.
The Blu-ray I've got is specifically, it's called Blade Runner: The Final Cut. So I'll watch.
Yeah, there you go.
Watch that, but I'm not one who'd sit down and watch 5 versions and have annoying conversations.
You don't want to watch the work print?
No.
The work print basically is the final cut.
Watch it late at night, preferably when you're just kind of coming down with something, so your brain's a little foggy.
No, it's literally like those of us that grew up with the cable and not the streaming. They would always play stuff like this, on, well, you guys had your 4 channels, but here when we had our science fiction stations, it's one of those things where they would start playing at midnight, and then you'd start watching it and you make it all the way through. So it's like that. Like there's some movies that only work at specific times of the day, and also specific times of the year.
Yeah.
What do you think is the ideal time of the year? What do you think is the ideal time of day or time of year, Sarah, to watch Legend? I'll let you have the last word.
Definitely this time of year.
Winter, dark night.
Winter. Yeah, you've got that Halloween vibe. It's weird because I always kind of associate it with Christmas. I must have watched it over the Christmas holiday, and like with the, with the snowing scene as well.
Movies like this don't work in the summer.
No, absolutely not.
I mean, Blade Runner, I think the reason people like it is because they created, it's one of the best world building we've seen in cinema at that time. Like, nobody's seen anything like we had Star Wars that gave you a much more gritty world, but then Blade Runner came along and pushed it into a much more adult dimension.
I think Ridley Scott is very good at building worlds. When I look back across his films, the stuff I've liked and I haven't, that's the one thing they've all got in common. I wouldn't say they've all got a fantasy bent to them, but they all feel slightly otherworldly, like they're reflected in a kind of, I suppose, in a kind of Black Mirror sort of way. Even the ones that on the surface look a lot less fantastical than Legend did from 1985. So Legend is available on Blu-ray and is also available as a 4K. So it's out multiple different versions, depending on where you are across different labels, as I understand it. But the most recent one, I believe, was this from Arrow Video, which is out of print.
Is it out on 4K?
So it says in my notes, but
just a minute. Okay.
I do know that this edition, the Arrow edition, has been out of print for a while.
So that's the one I have.
It is in the UK. You can actually, it's on sale. Actually, I think right now, the US version. But I'm just going to see Legend 4K because it wouldn't be Region 1. Okay, so there's 2 versions. So there's the crappy one that I have. There's the Arrow Blu-ray. And there's the Tom Hardy Legend. Who would pay $91 for that? Good Lord. But yeah, so but I would imagine if this sold, Arrow has right of first refusal when they re-release things. So I would hope that Arrow does this.
I can see somebody popping on the Tom Hardy one and sitting there going, "Where's the unicorns?"
Okay, has anybody but me actually seen Tom Hardy? Because that is a strange movie.
Do you think they made this whole movie because they cut out the unicorn scene from Blade Runner?
Unfinished.
Mind blown, Rabbi.
They use footage from this in Blade Runner, I do believe. For the unicorn?
For the final cut, right.
But okay, now see, but this movie then makes total sense if you think that Tom Cruise is a replicant in this movie, then it makes total sense.
No, this is Deckard's dream, right? This movie is what Deckard was dreaming in Blade Runner. That kind of then it makes so much better movie.
Don't confuse me even more. I need a break.
Mr. Cage, can we have your autograph?
All right. So, you're twins?
No, we're triplets.
Triplets?
Fever.
Psycho, I'm coming! I'm on my way, Japan.
Where are you finding these adverts?
Welcome to the Spacebook Live, sir. Yeah, so we've got a comment here from Funky. He says, I did say that Starry was with the grumpy old man. But we had fun.
To depress everyone, I did some research here about Legend on 4K. Apparently, at the moment, it's not possible due to what we will call rights hell. So,
they put it out once. Oh, it's best not to ask, isn't it? These things are so tortuous. I don't know how they manage to get themselves tied in the knots that they do with these movies, but that's all part of the idiosyncrasies of following the genres. Yeah, I've enjoyed this. I have enjoyed this after all. You know, it may have been somewhat crusty. I think if I'd have come to record this after I watched it, I'd have been a lot more miserable. I was pissed off after I watched this. But
my name?
I can laugh at myself. Why you asked me to watch this bloody? No, I was cursing myself because I remembered how much I disliked it the other times. You've got nobody else to blame but myself because I know I don't like this film. So why do I still own it? So I'm thinking I might. It's going to get donated, so I don't get tempted to watch it again. But thank you, Sarah, for bringing it to us. I didn't enjoy the film very much, but I've absolutely enjoyed talking about it with you. So thank you again, particularly as it meant so much. You've been very game in hearing us eviscerate it. Really,
you've all been game for a laugh.
That's okay. I'm used to it by now.
Good stuff. Thank you, everybody, for all of the comments too. We've had comments about everything else apart from the film. So that's part of the course here at the Spacebook Live.
There's a clue there. Yes. There's a clue there. You can home in on that.
There's only one Nicolas Cage and there's only one Matthew Pounder. Good to see you, mate. Thank you. That ad is better than Nick Cage's Wicker Man. Says
anything's better than.
Oh, that's a low bar. Come on.
Yeah. That car. And didn't Ridley Scott refilm it for Legend and moan the whole way through filming? I don't know. I don't care. But somebody out there will know. You want to hit up the Reddit /Legend.
The best refilming director's cut release ever is Highlander 2, right? Which turns that awful mess into a not great, but a pretty decent movie that I think stands up. Not as good as the original, but is pretty good.
There can be only one. Nobody told these two guys.
Thousands of them now.
They went mano on that. Rabbi, thanks again for joining us, particularly as you've had somewhat of a trippy week. It sounds like. I hope the next week.
Again. I had an extended psychotic episode. This movie was worse. Right, watching this movie. I was this close to being hospitalized. I hadn't slept for over 2 days. But and then just got bad when I watched Legend.
So if people want to hear more,
that's a true thing that happened.
I always say, because usually you're well past your crackers being creamed by this point. So I always say,
I'm looking for
his crackers were creamed 2 days ago.
At the end of the show, I always plug your show, and I always say, if you don't know where to find the rabbi from another planet by now, you never will. I don't need to say that this time. You can say it yourself. So tell them where they can find you and what you do.
You can find me on the YouTubes. Look up Rabbi from Another Planet tomorrow. I'm doing a stream, and it's going to be. I'll talk about the normal Doctor Who stuff. Maybe if I get to it, but I want to do a review of the autumn. Right, September, October, November. Right, because I think we've had a lot going on this autumn, right? Much like that, right? That would be the autumn for me, right? But so I'm going to go through all my thumbnails, and we'll see the highs and the lows. I saw when I was first looking at it, I saw the first time I was saying there will be no news about the show that may not be named, right, until 2026, and that came out about a week or so before the news of the show that may not be named came out.
The lucky charm. That is the rabbi from another planet. Thank you, mate, and enjoy your crackers by all means. Chris, we're all desperate to hear the update. Of course, it's been several weeks of the plight of your friend, associate Frank. So give us the update, mate, and tell people where they can find you.
So to summarize things, As you remember, Frank, while running away from the scary people that made him wear a dress in the forest, decided to form a cult. In the midst of forming said cult, Frank accidentally conjured Satan because he's an idiot. And then Satan briefly possessed Frank and then realized that Frank sucked. So then he decided to fully form himself into our reality, at which point he went on a rampage, destroying everything. So so the end of days is coming before the end of the year. The mainstream news is hiding this fact, but yes, half the world is currently on fire, and we're coming up next. So last time we were speaking with Frank, he was quite disturbed, and he was trying to rehabilitate his image, given that he's the one brought forth the apocalypse. But unfortunately, people were saying very mean things to Frank, justifiably so, on physical media. So now it appears that Frank has joined forces with Satan. So this might be just as bad as the terrible stuff he did on New Year's Eve last year. So he's now joined forces with Satan out of pure spite to basically burn down the world. How
long have we got?
We're frustrated and upset with Frank. You are fully justified in this because Frank is now about the end time. So hashtag to hell with Frank. Professor Dinkles has now completely disowned Frank. Although we knew that was going to come. His entire family has disowned him, which, I think one should do when one's relative brings forth the end times. Now, granted, a lot of us want the end times to come, but maybe not like this in a fiery inferno. So we will keep you posted on the exploits of Frank. But yes, Frank is officially a jackass. So there you go. That's your update.
No argument from me. I mean, obviously, we hope we at least get Christmas. We get to enjoy Christmas before he brings about whatever terrible. We're
all going to burn in hell. Hell is now manifest on earth. There is no hell. Hell is here.
I thought hell was Canada.
Well, no, this is where it ends.
Happy Thanksgiving, mate. So is Thanksgiving confined to 24 hours? Or is there a Thanksgiving Eve and a Thanksgiving equivalent of Boxing Day? Or is it all over and done with now and it's like it never even happened?
Well, no, but, I'll go all Hallmark and say, we try to remain thankful all throughout the year. But yes, the actual day is just 24 hours unless you count Black Friday, which extends it to 48. But now, no, we're well and truly on the road to Christmas now.
Excellent stuff. We've got a lot to cover between now and then. We've got 2 more shows coming up. I think next time we'll be comparing and contrasting, I think, and maybe looking at our wish lists concerning physical media and box sets and pre-orders and all that kind of thing. So if you're into all of that, stick around, be here next time for all of that, as well as more of the other, more stupid jokes, more crazy ads, and more grumpiness, almost certainly from us here at the Spacebook Live. You can find me across social media as the Spacebook, Instagram, X there, rattling on really about movies and telly and comics and whatever else I feel like, really. Fair amount of politics lately. I'm not a happy camper. I don't think many of us are happy campers. I've been for some time.
I'm very not happy.
Merry Christmas.
Bring on the apocalypse.
You really want to watch that Arnold Schwarzenegger film End of Days now?
That was a walk in the park compared to this. I take that over Keir Starmer's Britain any day, mate. Yeah. Any day.
Come to my country, dude.
No,
nobody do that.
Not unless you bring like 10 pairs of boots with you.
Well, no, the secret is you have to watch and you have to have a flashlight at night. And as long as you look ahead of you, you can sidestep the poop. I didn't do that. I was distracted.
I
don't
want to go anywhere where I got to sidestep the poop, right? That's just just my own personal. That's my own
hashtag sidestep the poop.
On that sage advice, I think we can check out, knowing we've in the satisfaction of a job well done, everybody. But we'll be back for more, I don't doubt. Thank you. This has been the Spacebook Live. Let us know what you think about it, as always, in the usual places, in the comments. But until the next time, we'll see you out there somewhere soonish. Bye-bye.